away from the sun because there's so much sun. Oh, it's still kind of blinding. Top of the morning, top of the morning. This is actually my, you know what? I don't even think the other video uploaded yet. This is my last night face. I don't think my other video from last night finished uploading yet, but my video from last night, I had I had about 75, almost 80 people on with me last night. Everybody was like my packing party or whatever. So I gotta be to work in about, what time is it? Gotta be to work in about 2.5 hours. I was able to sleep in the lobby last night. So I like pushed 2 chairs together, but I had some company because one of my coworkers, he works overnight all the time. So damn, he took off. He came in and like saw me and did like, and then damn, what the hell was that all about? That was really strange. But anyway, so yeah, so I had some company last night. One of my coworkers that works the overnight shift at the front desk. It was so dead though, like nobody came through. I never was at the front desk overnight before because I don't do overnight shift. I usually do morning shift. So it was actually kind of interesting to see like what he did in the overnight shift and how things went. But it was so dead. Like nobody came. Nobody came to check in and or nothing. So it was just completely quiet. So we just kind of stayed up and talked and hung out or whatever until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And then when I woke up this morning, I said to him, I said, I guess this means that we officially, I officially stayed overnight with you. He said, I guess so, Shanda, I guess so. I said, I think so. I said, we from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yeah, I think I could officially say, yes, I stayed overnight with you, but whatever, inside joke. But it was interesting to see the overnight shift because I never seen it before. I'm glad I was able to close my eyes and sleep for about, maybe 4 hours. I slept for about 4 hours, but I don't have a long shift today or anything, so that's okay. So I guess I'll be doing most of my documenting from the lobby. I literally like pushed 2 chairs together, but it's kind of uncomfortable pushing 2 chairs together, like because you still have to kind of sit up straight to try to sleep. So that just didn't work out too well for me. So I ended up like just pushing. I ended up pushing a chair away and just kind of leaning against the wall or whatever. And then he was on the other side at the front desk. So it was interesting. Life journeys, right? Shit happens. So, and then I checked my bank account this morning and my funds still didn't transfer over. And I'm starting to believe, and I even spoke to somebody in like the chat room, they have the little pop-up chats for people to help you. I even like spoke to people in the chat, like I transferred funds last week, Thursday, the 17th. And I made sure I took screenshots too because I don't, sometimes I don't trust certain things, but I don't know. What was this? Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. I thought Saturday would have been considered a business day. But if it don't transfer by today or tomorrow, I'm going to start feeling like somebody stole my damn money. But anyway, what's new, right? I'm so used to shit being stolen from me. But I see somebody's license plate says bust. Great. But anyway, so that's a shame. It's like sometimes you get so used to the hits you take in life that you get so numb to it that it's just like, you know what I mean? Like you get so numb to it. And I understand why there are some people that like their hearts turn cold And I understand why some people like get really mean and bitter about life, like when like bad things happen to you or whatever. Um, and we always hear those stories about the only the strongest gets the hardest tests, right? And if you're really strong, right, mentally, physically, and all of that stuff, then you will get through the test, right? And not many people do, right? Because they either break down physically or they break down mentally. And so, and when that happens, people tend to get angry and cold, and they bitter, right? And then they turn their frustrations onto others because they're angry and they don't know where else to place it, right? They don't know where else to place their anger, their hurt, their frustrations. And so I get that or whatever. I'm not the type of person to do that though. Like, oh, I feel like I got like a permanent. I'm not the type of person to do that though. Like, I definitely wouldn't place my burdens on somebody else because it's not somebody else's burdens to bear. You know what I mean? And I definitely wouldn't take out what I'm going through on the next person, because what did they do to me? You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that do that shit. They take their anger and their frustrations out on people that are around them or the people closest to them because they don't know how to express themselves, right? And so people think, like last night when I was documenting, packing up and going downstairs to stay in the lobby or whatever, right? There were some people on the live that were like, "Are you going crazy?" Like basically they weren't understanding why I was documenting what I was documenting. And I was like, well, why would I be embarrassed about this? I was like, it's not my fault that I transferred funds last week and it didn't hit my bank account yet. I said, it's not my fault that the policy is get out or whatever. I was like, that's not my fault. So I said, at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do, right? I've been here 1 year, worked here 1 year, been paying rent on time for an entire year, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me, right? So it's new, it's different for sure, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it, right? So I don't know what this. It looks like I have like a permanent lump, probably because I scrunch my face up or whatever. But yeah, it's like at the end of the day, what are you gonna do about it? You know. Um, you just kind of. I look at it as a life journey. I look at it as more test. I look at it as also study the situations too, because I'm more than anything, I'm always interested in like how the situation is going to turn out or what is to gain from it, if there's like a lesson, a message, because there's always something to learn from every situation, whether you learn something new about a person or people, whether you learn something new about an entity, whether you learn something new about yourself, right? And a lot of times when you're in situations like this, you do learn new things about yourself. You learn how strong you are, your agility. You learn how you react in certain situations, right? So you learn these things, and sometimes people put you through tests because they want to see how you handle certain situations, and people like to study people. That's one thing I've discovered. I've discovered for sure that people like to study people. People like to study people, right? And they want to see, hey, people like to study people, and they want to see how you handle certain situations. So like a guinea pig or whatever. But it is what it is. It's a beautiful day. Of course, another sunny day in California. It's not cold at all. It's actually kind of warm with a slight briskness to it, right? But yeah, like this is my last night face, y'all. Cause what I think I finished packing up and moving down into the lobby area around. It was damn near 11 p.m. My other coworker hadn't come in yet, so my manager was still at the front desk. But or managers were still at the front desk. So it was like maybe 10 minutes before 11 p.m. I finally got my last bags and stuff in the lobby. So I had like showered and, you know, got myself together. So this is my last night face. But I only slept for like 4 hours. So I guess that's why my face don't look like so crazy, like I've slept or whatever. But as the days progress, I guess we'll see what happens. It's not going to stop me from going live, and it's definitely not going to embarrass me at all. People really think that you're supposed to be embarrassed by life situations, but life happens to everybody. Life happens to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so, whether good or bad, or however you decide to view it, life happens to everybody. And so, I just think it's interesting, you know. And then there are some people who are actually happy to see this, right? They're like, oh, I'm so glad she's going public so I can see like the breakdown or the demise, or so that I can see like the bad shit that happens. I want to see it. I have a front row seat to it. I'm so glad she went live, that she's publicizing this so we can all sit around and laugh, ha ha ha, and mock and stuff, right? But it's like, if I bring you that much joy, you know, out of whatever is happening in my life situation, I'm glad I could bring you that joy. I'm glad I could bring you that laughter, because you never know, you know, when you'll have your last laugh, right? So if I could bring you that joy, that laughter, I'm glad that I could do it for you. I'm glad that I could do it for you. I'm glad that I could do it for you, you know? So anyway, you know what? Let me walk back in here. You know, I keep forgetting I got my shit out here. Um, it's not as protected anymore, so I got to make sure. But anyway, so I can't go too far. I was trying to kind of get away from the sun because it's, I don't know if y'all can see me good enough or not. But anyway, so this was my room last night. Hold on. This is my room last night, and that's my stuff right there. My 1 year accumulation of stuff. And you know, sometimes people are like, you know, how come you don't have a whole bunch of stuff? Like, how come you don't have a whole bunch of stuff? But you know, I always tell people, never get comfortable in a place or a situation. Never get comfortable in a place that you don't own. That's what I tell people. And because of my life experiences, and me having the understanding that anything can change at the drop of a hat, people can change at the drop of a hat, situations can change at the drop of a hat. You know, you have to kind of be on guard. And accumulating a bunch of shit, it just doesn't make sense to do that. You know what I mean? I've learned over the years to live a very minimalistic lifestyle. And what's crazy is I did that even when I owned my homes. I had a very minimalistic lifestyle. I didn't over buy things and over, you know what I mean? So, and because of that, I was able to use the money that I wasn't using on like buying clothes and just knickknacks and things like that. I was able to use that money to invest in my businesses, my candle business and real estate business and stuff like that. So I was able to invest that money in other places that I was trying to have a fruitful situation. But yeah, like it would be so funny because my mom rarely came to visit, but when she did, well, she rarely came to visit anywhere I was in like 20 years. But after I had my babies, she decided to come out and visit or whatever. So when she did visit my first house that we bought or whatever. That's where I had my babies or whatever. But then we had bought and built a second home, and then she came there. And both times, right? Because both homes I had like really deep walk-in closets. And it was so funny because she would go into my walk-in closets and she would just look around like, where all your clothes at? Where all your shoes at? Where all your purses at, right? And I'm just like, I don't shop like that. And she was just like, girl, you crazy. This is a whole other room, like bedroom, because my walk-in closets would be so big that it would look like literally another bedroom. And my mother was like, girl, I would have had this whole entire closet filled to the brim. And I said, I know you would, because I've seen her stuff. My mom, I call her a hoarder. My mom's a hoarder. She has so much stuff. Like my mom has so much stuff. She has like 4 storage units alone, and it's just her. That's how much stuff she accumulates. And so when I would see my big walk-in closet, she was like, what the hell? Like, where are all your clothes and where is everything at? I would have had this whole thing filled up. And I just bust out laughing. And I was like, well, I use that money to invest in other things, like, my candle business, my online business, and supplies and stuff like that. And she was just like, what? She was so confused. But I learned how to live that minimalistic lifestyle because as I was saving, I used to work for a cable company for 3 years, right? And at that time, I was saving to purchase my first home. And so, I was making sure my credit was good. I was checking the spouses at the time credit, making sure the credit was good. I was doing everything that I needed to do to make sure that the credit was on point, right? And then I was doing everything to make sure that we had 20% to put down. So part of having a minimalistic lifestyle is not buying stuff so that you can afford to save to buy a home or your down payment or whatever. So that's what I did. And because buying a home to me was greater than buying like clothes and physical things, I just kind of stayed with that mentality or whatever. And so even with purchasing my first home and even with purchasing my second home, like shopping all the time just wasn't like at the forefront of my mind. But at the forefront of my mind was like business and family always. And so so I guess that's why when my mother would see my walk-in closets and she saw how like sparse it was, she was really, really confused. But that's the main reason of why I had learned to not spend money on like frivolous things so that I can have a greater outcome later on with other things. So that's the reason why when you look at the accumulation of things that I have right there in 1 year, that's why it's not a lot. That's why it's not a lot. You never get comfortable in a place that you don't own. And even when I did own my homes, I was comfortable for sure. Like I said, I just chose to use my money in other areas, and it was business and family. So that's that. But yeah, so we all out here, on a journey, leading by example, doing however we are deciding to lead. And it's crazy because I never thought that I would be documenting my life journey in this way. Like I was expecting to document my life journey, but I had a plan behind it, how I planned to do it. And it included my RV, and it also included my kids. So it's interesting that I ended up doing it, but it doesn't include my RV, my kids. Not including my kids. And it's like, I'm not in a forest anywhere. You know what I mean? I thought I was going to be in a forest somewhere, child, and just surrounded by Mother Nature. And I do have Mother Nature around me, but just not in the way that I expected to have Mother Nature around me when I decided to document my everyday life. So everything happens for a reason, and you go through what you go through for whatever the reason you go through it. Um, Sometimes people say, like, well, maybe if you don't speak on certain things, or maybe if you don't bring up certain things, or maybe if you just kind of let things be a certain way, then maybe things won't be so difficult, or things won't, maybe things will be easier. And when I think about that, I'm like, for me, does it make sense to, or is it really easy to not speak on certain things? Is it really easy to let things be the way they are? Is it really easy to pretend that there's nothing wrong when there is something wrong? You know what I mean? And I think for me, is like, I spent so many years being quiet. I spent so many years pretending things were okay. Not even pretending, just not talking about it. Just not talking about it. Just not speaking on it. And honestly, in a lot of situations, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. So I couldn't even speak to it because I didn't even understand it. I didn't even understand it. Because when you're going through things, like when people are doing things to you and you may not understand, right? Because I mean, if it's being done like in a secret way, in a secretive agenda way, um, so you may not really understand what's happening, right? But then as time goes on, you kind of start picking up on things, right? And then that's where the life lessons come in. And so, so sometimes you can't speak to things because you don't even understand what the hell is happening to you. It may be hurtful, but you're not even understanding the hurt, right? And so when people say sometimes it's good to just be quiet and not say things or speak on certain things because they feel that it's easier that way, life would be easier that way. I don't think life would be easier that way. I don't think life would be easier that way. Not for me. Not for me. Because how can you live life knowing that something isn't right? How can you live life knowing that something doesn't feel good? Or how can you live life knowing that you're really hurt and you can't speak on it? You can't say anything, do anything? You should just act like it never existed, it's not there? How do you do that? I know a lot of us do that. What is twisters? I don't even know what that is. I know a lot of us do that, but no, I feel like I spend a lot of my life being quiet. I spend a lot of my life sucking up a lot of stuff and dealing with a lot of stuff that ended up hurting me in the long run. And so it's almost like a catch-22, or it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? So you remain quiet and you allow the shit to continue hurting you. So it's almost like people want you to remain quiet and hurt in silence rather than hurt out loud, like, which means speaking about your hurt, right? So be silent and be hurt rather than speaking out about your hurt. So I guess that's the decisions that people have to make in life. Are you going to be silent about your pain? Are you going to, because a lot of times when you're silent about your pain, it just ends up eating you up from the inside out. And then you end up getting all kind of illnesses and sicknesses and diseases and shit, high blood pressure, migraine, headaches, your body physically breaking down, your pains over here, back pain over there, stomach pain on the inside. You don't know what's going on with the stomach, and then you go to the doctor and you got to take all this stuff, and then that mess you up even more. And do you know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of people don't realize is a lot of times when you when you're silent about your hurt, it just kills you from the inside out. It kills you from the inside out. And when you're public about your hurt, which means you're speaking on it, most of the times you feel a lot better afterwards. Like if you hear people talk online and they're talking about their pain and they're talking about, and then they'll usually say afterwards, like, oh, I feel so much better now that I got this off my chest, or oh, it feels so good to let somebody know what's going on or what I'm going through. So and when I did, so many people commented and they told me they were going through the same thing, and oh, it felt so good to not be alone. Do you know what I mean? It's because you were public with your hurt. Now, I'm not saying that you got to be all out in the open and crying and screaming and hollering. Some people do. Some people do. Everybody's different, right? But I know for a fact from experience that, when you hold stuff in on the inside, when you hold your hurt in, it never does anything to help you. It never does anything to help you. You're just like screaming on the inside. It's like you're screaming on the inside and you're hoping that somebody hears your inside voice. That's kind of like what it's like. You're screaming and you're hoping somebody hears your inside voice. And then if the person that you're hoping hears your inside voice doesn't hear it, you get mad at the person. Sometimes they get mad and they attack the person because they expect the person to either read their mind or hear their inside voice. And you should hear it. You should understand it because of how I'm acting out. Because I'm angry. People don't know why you're angry. You got to say why you're angry. You got to express yourself. You got to communicate. And a lot of times people don't know how to communicate either. I'm a communications major. My first time I went to college, I went for broadcast communications. And I'm also a writer. So expressing myself has gotten very easy to me. Very easy. So because I do it either through writing or I do it through talk, right? And that's how my podcast got started. It was originally Everybody's Got a Story, and I switched the name to All Baddies Got a Story. And I talked to myself through a lot of issues that I had, and I ended up healing myself because of it, as a result of it. And I said to myself, well, if I healed myself, then I think other people can probably benefit from this, right? So I have a podcast, All Baddies Got a Story. It's almost 300 episodes on there. The link is in my profile. You can click on it and subscribe to it. I actually purposely put about 50 episodes of it from my podcast on this YouTube channel right here, All Baddies Got a Story. It's in the All Baddies Got a Story folder, and it says podcast under it, to give you guys a taste of what the podcast is actually like. I always say it's a lot of raw realness on it, but it's also a lot of messages, really important messages. People always tell me they can definitely relate to it, and that they appreciate my foresight. Like, they appreciate how I break stuff down. They say I break it down in such a way where they never saw it that way before. But the way I broke it down, they're like, oh, like I saw it differently. And I always say, wonderful. I gave you new eyes. I always say that. I say that a lot in my podcast. I love giving people new eyes. I love giving people new eyes, which is just a different way of seeing something that you've never seen it before. Because you can talk to 10, 20 people, right? But if 10, 20 people think exactly the same way, do exactly the same thing, go exactly the same places, do everything exactly the same, and it's 20 people, it don't matter how many people it is if there is no shift in perspective. If 20 people do exactly the same thing, think exactly the same way, you're not going to get new eyes, right? You're not going to get new eyes. No, most of the time you have to travel out of your inner circle in order to get new eyes. And that's the truth, right? Because you have to have people that think different, right? That thinks differently. That's why I think it's important, like in a business setting, I think it's important to have people that think differently. I don't think it's good to have everybody, like in a business, that think exactly the same way, because you won't get any new ideas, no fresh ideas. You won't. Um, do you know what I mean? Like, there won't necessarily be a evolution or growth because everybody thinks exactly the same. And and I'm always told that it's good to not have a bunch of yes people around you, because the more yes people you have around you, the more you're not going to get told the truth. Because if you're the boss, right, and you got a bunch of yes people around you, whatever you say, they're going to say yes, 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 right? Because you're the boss. And they don't want to go against the boss. They don't want to make the boss angry or anything like that. So everything is yes, 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 right? So, and then, the boss ends up, either not elevating or not evolving, not growing, whatever, because there is no like change of dynamics. There's no shift in perspective. There's no new eyes, no new way of looking at things. And sometimes as a result, you can kind of be stagnant because of it, right? So, yeah, I always said that in business, I don't want a bunch of yes people around me, because that means that they're probably not going to tell me the truth to a certain degree. You know what I mean? I don't want a bunch of people around me to kiss my ass. You know what I mean? I want you to keep it real. And I want people, diversity. I want people that have diverse minds, so that each individual person can bring something different to the table. It's like puzzle pieces, right? You can just throw the puzzle pieces out on the table, smoosh it around, but they're all different, and you kind of just see what works for that day or what works for that moment in time. You know what I mean? And so that's how I look at it. But yeah, man. Life lessons, you gotta learn them. When you learn them, then you gotta convert them into everyday life. Some shit come at a price, so pay attention. I. Oh, I have another spoken word. I always say snippets from it, like whatever pops in my mind. The other one that popped in my mind is, what's done in the dark comes to the light. Sometimes the folks who are close be the dark trying to steal your light. Never had shit given to me easy in this life. When I'm back on top, memory Xing folks who wasn't right. But of course, then it breaks out into more spoken word, but that was like a main snippet of it or whatever. But if you're into spoken word and you're into music and artistry in general, I do have an artist music page at that girl Shanda. It's shown as a featured channel on this YouTube page, All Baddies Got a Story. Go check it out. Check out the spoken word. The narrations are my voice. The music behind the narration is my music that I personally composed. I have music videos on there. All of the videos that I'm in where I'm singing, I wrote the songs, and I sing the songs. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go check it out. If you vibe with it, subscribe to this page, All Baddies Got a Story. I go live every day, and I just come on here and talk about different things. And usually I have like a whole chat room of people chiming in and asking questions and stuff. And then we kind of have a back and forth kind of camaraderie, which is kind of dope. I like that. I like when people ask me questions, even if they're negative, because you have people that will come on here and they're just negative for no reason. They're just negative or whatever. But it's like, whatever. I guess you need to put your hot air somewhere for the day. So it is what it is. But yeah. So I'm going to get off this live now. It's almost 9 a.m. I have to be to work in 2 hours, which, due to the circumstances, I'll be in the lobby area. And maybe I'll go live again. It just depends on how the day go, how it feels. I usually go live early in the morning, normally. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, how the day progresses. I'm more than likely I'm gonna go live again later because why not, right? All right, so I'll talk to y'all soon.